I don't know about you, but I'm just not stoked for the new Captain America movie, which is odd because I should be. It's got a cast filled with talented actors like Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford. It's really different from the other MCU films in the sense that it's a political thriller, and we finally get to see Everett Ross transform into the Red Hulk. But despite all this, I'm not that excited for this new Captain America flick. Is it because this movie looks political and I don't like politics that much?
What do you plan to do about crime in our city?
A lot.
Well, sort of. With all seriousness though, I don't feel confident in this movie because I don't feel confident in Sam Wilson's character development. In this video, I'm going to go over why Sam Wilson's character development will not reach the same heights as Steve Rogers, and hopefully after watching this video, you'll have all the tools you need to build an epic character of your own. But before we move on, please be sure to like and subscribe to Reverb Comics. You do not want to miss out on our awesome content. Now, I'll be fair, Sam Wilson's character development has been alright. He's been a great supporting character in the MCU, and his journey of recognizing his own self-worth and capabilities to become the man to take on the Captain America mantle in the Falcon and Winter Soldier series was pretty decent. Not perfect by any means.
You've got to do better, Senator.
But decent. But I'm just not confident that he'll get the same storytelling treatment as my boy Steve Rogers. His journey throughout the trilogy of his Captain America movies has been nothing short of epic. Part of what made his character development so great is the fact that he went through hell. His story got off to a decent start. We understood why he wanted to join everybody to fight the good fight despite his limitations. And hey, we gotta respect Steve for that. He wanted to help beat the Nazis so badly that he went through intense military training despite being such a weak and skinny man. And he went through a dangerous procedure to become a super soldier so that he can help beat the bad guys. And at the end of that movie, he made the ultimate sacrifice play to save everyone's life. How could you not admire Steve Rogers after he did all that? But what if I were to tell you that that's not the best character development he had so far? When the Russo brothers came on board for Captain America Winter Soldier, they made him into a complete and total badass. In my opinion, the Russo brothers turned Steve Rogers into a Randian hero. Now, for those of you who don't know, Randian heroes originated from Ayn Rand's literary successes. Ayn Rand's literary successes came from stories that preach the idea that individualism is superior to conformity. I got a bit into this topic in my Dark Knight Returns video essay. Whether you agree with her or not, she must have done something right as her book The Fountainhead sold over 30 million copies. She also came up with this philosophy called objectivism. She describes it as the concept of man as a heroic being with his own happiness as the moral purpose of his life, with productive achievement as his noblest activity and reason as his only absolute. If you think about it, this describes Steve's character perfectly. In my opinion, Steve Rogers truly became a badass when he went about his moral pursuit against the immoral collectivist tide, like a Randian hero would do. Now, Captain America, the First Avenger, is a great movie. Steve went through hell and back to gain the respect of his comrades. The only problem is that in that movie, he joined the collectivist tide. Now, don't get me wrong, Steve did the right thing. In this instance, the collectivist tide was doing something great. America and its allies were fighting against the Nazis' oppressive forces. But when we get to Captain America Winter Soldier, he starts to form his own identity. When he went on that mission with S.H.I.E.L.D. in the first part of that movie, it felt off to him that Black Widow did her own thing and gathered intel without informing him. It felt off to him when he realized just how powerful S.H.I.E.L.D. and the US military actually is. And it felt really off to him that these organizations had the gall to not be transparent and instill fear into people with their advanced and dangerous technology. Steve Rogers said it best.
This isn't freedom. This is fear.
This group that Steve Rogers now finds himself a part of is not a group that he agrees with. He's no longer a blind patriot just taking orders from his general. In Captain America Winter Soldier, he has a fully formed identity. In this story, he not only disagrees with people, but he actively fights against what he thinks is wrong. Now, you can make the argument that he's not a perfect Randian hero, as he got the help of the Black Widow, Falcon, and Nick Fury to fight off the immoral collectivist tide. Which, hey, that's fair enough. It wasn't just him. He had some help. But despite how he had some help, you still can't deny that this made for a pretty epic story. Now, as we all know, Steve was in the right. It turns out that Hydra infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and tried to bring about chaos. If it wasn't for Steve, Hydra would have caused a lot of destruction. His individuality was really put to the test in Captain America Civil War. As we all know, the government wanted everyone to sign on to the Soviet Accords. Concerns about the Avengers operating independently came about when people died from collateral damage when they were trying to save the day. Even though a lot of people pushed him to sign it, Steve Rogers just couldn't do it. He just couldn't work with a group of people that he might not agree with at some point in the future. It's like what he said.
But it's run by people with agendas, and agendas change.
Now, I don't know about you, but I think that's just awesome. Having the courage to say to the government that they can go screw themselves so that you can live a free life is just spectacular. Now, again, you can make the argument that he didn't operate independently. After all, we got to see Team Cap face off against Team Iron Man, but despite how he had people helping him, you can't deny that he led the charge to try and stop the government and Tony's team from taking away everyone's freedom and individuality. I mean, who else would have the balls to go against what the crowd is saying in the MCU? Now, I'm kind of going on a tangent here. This is why I always hated it when people call Cap a 90-year-old virgin.
Did you see that ass? Like, that ass did not deserve to die a virgin.
I hate you.
Even if he was celibate, you can't deny that he's a total badass. Now, even though his character development has been truly epic, we also got to see Steve Rogers' humanity. Now, even though Captain America truly became a badass, we still got to see his flaws. To me, his biggest flaw is how he feels towards his friend, Bucky Barnes. Now, even though Bucky killed a bunch of people and caused a lot of destruction, it makes sense as to why he went through hell for Bucky. Both Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes are men out of their respective times. They both had a lot of trouble integrating into this new society, and for crying out loud, Bucky Barnes was like the best older brother to Steve. We got to see Bucky stick up for Steve when he got a beating from some random thug in the first Captain America film. And keep in mind that Steve's parents were not in the picture. His father died in World War I, and his mother died of tuberculosis when he was just 18. Aside from Peggy Carter, Bucky is the only person he formed a deep and personal connection with. So of course, Steve would do anything to get his old friend Bucky Barnes back. And I'd argue that this unrelentless loyalty to Bucky was his biggest Achilles heel. He fought so hard for his friend that he went as far as lying to Tony about the circumstances of his parents' death. As we all know, Bucky killed Tony's parents when he was being mind-controlled by Hydra, and Tony straight up caught Steve in a lie. The guy who preached sacrifice and moral virtuousness lied to Tony to protect his friend, which is just unbelievable. Captain America's humanity was put at the forefront as he couldn't live up to the highest form of moral integrity. Even though he became a total badass, he still made mistakes. Even though he became this epic force of nature, we still got to see his humanity. We got to see his subjective viewpoint and how it shaped his unique decisions. Now, don't get me wrong, the MCU is not perfect. Some people may not like Steve's journey compared to Iron Man's, but you just can't deny that this journey that Steve went on was just amazing. He went through hell and back to fight the Nazis, he made the ultimate sacrifice play, he came to terms with his individuality, and fought against the immoral collectivist tide. And while all of this was happening, we got to see his flaws and humanity. Plus, he got to lift Mjolnir and hold his own against Thanos, which is also pretty cool. Now, with all that said and done, I just don't know how they're going to give that same storytelling treatment to Sam Wilson. Personally, I don't see him going against some immoral collectivist tide like Steve did, since he technically already did that. He joined Steve Rogers' cause and became a war criminal, so I doubt that they're going to rehash that story. And it's hard to make Sam look like a badass if he's not standing his ground like Steve Rogers. Now, I'll be fair, Captain America Brave New World looks like a true underdog story. At the very least, it's got that going for it. For Sam Wilson, a guy with no powers, to go up against the Red Hulk will be interesting to watch. It's just difficult for the creative team to match Steve Rogers' treatment with Sam Wilson. No matter what, this Captain America film will be compared to its predecessors. It kind of makes Sam Wilson come off as a derivative character. Because, let's face it, he'll always be in the shadow of Steve Rogers. Coming to think of it, I always wondered why Sam Wilson was never called the Eagle. After all, Sam Wilson has wings, and the national animal for the US is a bald eagle. Why does Sam have to be called Captain America? To me, it would be cool if he took Steve's shield to honor his legacy while simultaneously expressing his own individuality by calling himself the Eagle. Maybe DC Comics has the copyrights associated with that name, but anyways, I'm rambling. Hopefully the creative team at Marvel will prove me wrong. Despite my concerns, I really want this movie to turn out great. But what do you think? Do you think Captain America Brave New World will do well? What do you think about Steve Rogers' journey in the MCU? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe to Reverb Comics so that you do not miss out on our awesome content. Stay groovy.